Moria could be better, and I'm going to teach you how to make it better. Here with Best Daniel on the second tutorial for modding Return to Moria. Today, I'm going to demonstrate how to mod the game by injecting messages into the game chat, plus how to feed and heal your dwarf. These are just a few things you can do with the mod library we're working on. Go ahead and open up your Moria directory. Remember, open up Epic Launcher, go to Library, find Return to Moria, click Manage, then click the directory icon. Now go to the directory Moria, Binaries, Win64. First, we need to install a library called UE4SS to help run our mod, plus make our lives easier on debugging. Link in the description. The library is a Unreal Engine scripting tool that'll help us execute code in the game and access information from the game, such as the dwarves, their health, the chat window, and really to the entire game. Once you've downloaded it, open it up and copy all the files into your Moria binary directory we opened up earlier. Next, open up this INI file, UE4SS-settings.ini, with Notepad or your preferred editor. The first thing we want to look for is the hot reload setting near the top here. This allows you to reload your mod without restarting the game. Therefore, you can, I may have a bug in my code. You'll tweak it, and then just click a restart mod button, and then it'll be running the new code. Set this value to 1. Although, be warned, if you tend to have a lot of bugs in your code, sometimes the game will crash when you do a hot reload. But I find if I don't have any bugs, then the game won't crash. Next, let's enable the debug console. Go down in the file to these 3 settings here and set them all to 1 to enable them. This will give you a console to display on a separate monitor while the game and mod are running. Plus, you'll be able to see information in real time about the game, including option instances. Plus, there's a watch window, which if you're used to a IDE, you used to be able to watch variables and whatnot. You can do a similar thing here. Next, go to our GitHub repo. This contains the source code for our base library we've created that have a lot of helper functions, so you don't need to reverse engineer the game. Although, there's still a lot to unlock and reverse engineer from the game to get more in depth. The library is growing, so bear with us. Plus, we want to convert it to a more object-oriented design. So expect that in the near future. There are a few demo mods showing how to use the library, but this can get you started. Go ahead and download the Tutorial 2 release. Then copy the files to the Moria directory we opened earlier. This UESS signatures directory is used by the scripting engine for some games when it cannot find fname or gobject and a few other things in the Unreal game. In our case, it was unable to find the fnames constructor, so I found the signature and created the file to handle it. Now, creating the signature requires its own video, so expect that in our video. But it's here for you, so you don't need to worry about it. Let's go back then into the mod directory and create our first mod. You'll see a few folders in here. BDL has our common library that your mod can use if you'd like. It's just some scripts. It's not a mod by itself. It's meant to be used by other mods. The mods.txt is a way to configure which mods are active and what order to load them. Just put a 1 if you want to enable a specific mod and to add one. just add the mod name, then :1. For this example, we don't need to touch it, so we'll move on. Go into the directory bd Dwarf and trainer. Now for your own mod, you can change the bd Dwarf and trainer name to anything you want. But for this tutorial, this is our starting place. Next, in the directory, you'll see this enabled text file. This will tell UE4SS to load this mod when Return to Moria is started. Therefore, we don't need to add it to the mod text file from earlier. Alternatively, we could delete this enabled text file and put it in the mods text file. You would want to do this if you require your mods to be loaded in a certain order, which mods text file supports. If you don't want the mod enabled, just delete this file. Next, go into the scripts directory. Open up main.lua in Notepad or your preferred editor. This has some boilerplate code to get you started. As you can see, this uses the Lua scripting language. We chose to use Lua for this because we can make changes without having to constantly recompile the code. But the UE4SS modding engine we are using does support C++ if that is more your cup of tea. They have a tutorial on how to do that. In this file, you'll first see this register key bind function call. The first parameter is the key to bind to. So when the player presses this key, this code will start running. Above this is all the required packages or other scripts. And these are including files from the BDL I mentioned earlier with a variety of the helper functions. It is able to find them by using this package path up above, which you'll see if you look into it has a reference to the BLD directory. Therefore, this line is very important for it to find those scripts. If you remove that line, it will not be able to find the scripts. Let's go ahead and print out a message to the chat for all players using this function, chat send server. Then we'll give a message, hello YouTube, or whatever message you would like. Next, save the file, then run the game. I have Moria in window mode for the video, but you'll see when I run it, the console pops up. It has an alternative way to print messages instead of to the chat message. Here is the button to start all your mods or restart all your mods. So you can edit the scripts, then click this to get the updated version. I'll demo it in a little while. Under dumpers, there is a variety of helpful things. One thing I love is the dump CXX headers. This generates C++ headers for all the classes, properties, and methods for all the classes in the game, which is incredibly helpful for a few reasons. First, this engine supports writing your mod in C++. Therefore, having the headers will help with development, but I also like to search through them for reverse engineering the game. For example, if you search for the word health or stamina, you can find a lot of properties and functions related to it. I'll have to create another video on reverse engineering, but having the headers helps a lot to figure out functions to call in the game itself. Live View lets you see instances of objects in the game at runtime, which is really helpful. For example, in a multiplayer game, it's fair to assume there will be multiple characters or dwarves, so you can search and find all the instances. There is a watch tab for monitoring variables. Let's get into the game. We press F5. There's our message. Hello, YouTube. Congrats, everyone. You've taken your first step. Let's test the hot reload. I'll update my message. Click Restart All Mods. Now we click F5 again in the game. There we go. And you should totally follow that message. Do you need help modding the game, or do you have a question or a specific request? If so, post it in the comments below. Let's move on and do something to our dwarf because, as you can see, he is starving. Just like a normal application, there are objects in the game pertaining to each dwarf logged in. The player does have an init function that should be called before trying to use any of the helper functions. As you'll see, this not only returns the main player reference, but also sets up this attributes object. This attributes object can retrieve all the states and properties for any type of actor or player in the game. Because monsters are actors, it works for monsters as well. To get your dwarf, the function we want is player main init. If you want to get all the dwarves in the game, you can call player get all players ref, which is short for reference. As you'll see, I created some helper functions to get their character name, health, armor, stamina, which you see the function takes a reference, a character reference. And this reference is an actor object. Therefore, again, you can use it on any dwarf in the game or monster. Next, you'll see I've created functions set health and set food, which will set the player's health and food levels of whoever is given to the function. And again, you can pass in your dwarf's reference or another dwarf or a monster if you so wish. Go back to the main.lua and add in the function player main init to get the player reference. Then let's call player set food with 100 food to fully feed us. Save the file. In the console, select restart all mods. Now click on the game window, press F5. Hey look, we're now fully fed. Let's quickly code and heal my dwarf because as you can see, I'm almost dead. We'll do F6, then set the health. Feel free to browse the demo mods in the mods directory of the repo. I have the unreleased camera zoom in and out to control the player's camera as well in there. The Dwarven trainer for messing around healing and feeding the dwarves. Game pause calls a pause in the game to pause the game. I've actually found this helpful when working on my code. So when I get back to my game after doing some coding, I don't find my dwarf dead on the ground. Plus, I find if I restart the mods when the game is paused, anecdotally, it feels like it crashes less. These can help inspire you on how to find things in the game and give you ideas where to look and what classes to examine when you're digging into the game or reverse engineering it. If you want to try out this Dwarven Trainer mod for yourself, there is a link to download it from Nexus Mod in the description, along with a few other of the mods that are demoing this library. My next video, I'll dig into reverse engineering an Unreal Engine game using the scripting engine, plus a few other features of the engine. If you have any questions, comments, or issues, let us know in the comments. If you find this content helpful, please help us out by liking and subscribing.